2026, I think, is going to be a very interesting year for the job market. Currently, it's in a weird place in the sense of there's a lot of noise about people being let go because they're being replaced by AI. Automation tasks are making us redundant. But then on the flip side, we have these companies that are actually desperately trying to hire people to do the automation and implement the AI, as well as all the other stuff that we would normally do as DevOps platform engineers. I've been fortunate enough to not only pick up a new job last year twice, when we were going through this layoffs and AI replacement sort of situation, but I've also managed to do it again this year. Recently, I actually just moved away from my current role and switched over to I moved away from my previous role to my now current role, which was by choice, but I was still able to pick up a DevOps role in 2026, even with everything going on right now. If I was you looking for a new DevOps role in 2026, these are the things that I would be looking at and how I would kind of approach it. The first thing to tackle is actually finding the jobs. Now, I don't mean like getting offered the job, I mean finding the job to apply for in the first place. One of the challenges we are currently facing in the market is this sort of fluid job title challenge. It's not an issue, it's just it's the way it goes. All right, a few years ago it was everyone's a cloud engineer, then it was platform engineer, then it was DevOps. Now it's kind of going back to platform engineer, but also there's some SRE involved, a few other things as well. So it makes it very difficult when you as an individual, you're trying to go out there and find a job and you're like, yes, I want to be a DevOps engineer, but there's no jobs called DevOps. They're all called something else. So how do we approach this and how do we get around it? The best thing that I can suggest doing is exactly what I do when I'm looking for a job, is look for the tech stack, look for the job role rather than the job title. So typically when I'm going out and I'm looking for a job, I will search things like Kubernetes. That'll be the first thing I'll always search for. If it's typically anything that involves Kubernetes is my job role. There's a few out there, the new full stack, which is front end, back end, platform and infrastructure. Like they want you to do it all. That I don't do. Like I'm not for that. It's too much. They ask too much. I won't even apply for some of them jobs. Fair play. If you're one of these people that can do it, I am not one of them. So you are welcome to it. But the other jobs, it would be something like I've seen SRE jobs that come up under Kubernetes. There has been DevOps roles, platforms roles, cloud roles, but the actual stack itself is all basically the same, and the day-to-day, as per the paper, as per the job description, it looks the same as well. Equally, alongside Kubernetes, you can be looking for things like CI/CD, pipelines, GitHub, Terraform. If you prefer something like OpenTofu or Terragrunt or Crossplane, search for the tools. If your goal is actually you want to be building infrastructure on GCP, search for Google Cloud, GCP. If it's AWS, you do AWS. You search EKS. This is the thing. No job description is the same. And the people that are typically writing these job descriptions aren't the technical engineers themselves. It will be somebody in HR that's pulled it from somewhere, searching for the platform, searching for the tools. In 2025, we had a whole thing going on with the workspace where using AI in an interview was a no-no, right? That was, you do not do it. We've all seen the TikTok and the YouTube shorts where they've got like the guy saying, show your screen. And you're like, oh, you can't see my screen, but I've got AI running. Or they're using like their phone and they're doing stuff as well. And that's still happening, but it's different in the sense of that all happened last year. So now that's forcing people to do practical hands-on. If you're not in person, then you can still do it remotely. So, you get a remote server where you can log in and do stuff. And what I've seen is that some companies during the interview process will just say, yeah, you can use AI because we use it. Like you use it as a day-to-day. So it's becoming more and more of an acceptance that not necessarily they want to know if you use AI, but they want to know that you use AI correctly. So do you actually know how it works? So if we were on a call, right now, and I said to you, here's the Kubernetes cluster, you've connected to it, we're sharing the screen, I can see everything you're doing. You can use AI, I want you to solve this problem. Do you know how to approach that? Can you explain how you did that? Can you explain why you use that certain type of prompt? Are you using it? Would you ideally use some skills? Would there be an MCP that you would use? They want this level of comprehension of AI now is almost becoming a standard. And where companies are trying to adopt it in their own in-house, they want people that have the, not ambition's the wrong word, sort of like the attitude of they're passionate. They're passionate about learning new technologies. That has always been the trend, before it was, what was it, hypervisors, virtual machines, and then containerization, Kubernetes, and now it's like AI. So the tech trends in terms of the whatever is cool has always been around, and whoever can show and demonstrate that they are passionate about the new tool that is trying to be adopted by the world globally, and you're gonna help yourself out. So showing that, demonstrating that, understanding it is definitely a thing. I personally think that if you're running a home lab, you should have some kind of AI automation on it. There's lots out there. I'm not saying go out and do Clawbot or OpenClaw or whatever it's called now. You can test it by all means, but do it at your own discretion. It is not safe. It has access to everything. It's caused a lot of controversy, but admittedly, the guy who created it, he said that, I did just create it because I wanted to, and he didn't do it with the intention of it being secure. So just have that to know if you were going to run that. But you can have anything. You can have NAN, right? You can run that open source, you can run it locally. It is open. Yeah, it's free. You can run it on a machine. And then you can plug in any of your free tokens. So you can run Alarma, you can run that locally, and you can connect everything up. There's almost, if you run a home lab, there's no excuse not to try some of these things to at least get an understanding. There was a time when we needed kind of, an expensive API key or some kind of expensive subscription to understand the concepts. But now I feel that things have moved far enough forwards with like open source AI and tools to leverage it. Claude Code was opened up, so you can actually set the backend to Alarma now. So you don't even have to. You don't have to have a Claude subscription to use Claude Code. You can just use a really small Alarma model, and you can even use the cloud Alarma models, and they ain't going to cost you anything. They're going to cost you nothing. So yeah, there's absolutely no excuse. And then there's tools like Agent Gateway, K-Gateway, so you can start looking at like policies and controlling it, rate limiting. The technology is all there. I'm passionate about it. I can't stop talking about it. And this is what I mean. And when I'm in an interview or when I'm in a conversation, I always talk about it. If I can, I demonstrate my home lab. I show what I'm doing. I'm showing like what I'm practicing, what I'm learning right now, and how that fits into my typical Kubernetes infrastructure job type role. So comprehension and understanding of what AI is doing, and not necessarily where it can be leveraged, it's just how it can work. One of the biggest problems with AI in the workplace at the moment is where to actually use it. It's like we have this super powerful tool, but we don't know what to do with it. What's actually going to be worthwhile? Most of the time it's just code assist, but levels of automation, sometimes you'll start with this high level, and then you're like, well, actually I can just replace that with a small script, and then it's not going to cost me any tokens. So long story short, if it needs reasoning, use AI. If it just needs logic, use scripting. Anyway, getting back to topic, we were talking about the job market, and I went off on AI because that's all you're going to see about it. The other thing that has significantly helped me in getting a new job every time, and this is becoming more and more apparent, is having a sort of like authentic public profile. And I mean that, and no, LinkedIn. Not everybody likes LinkedIn, but I can't fault it. Yes, it's just social media for work, and you're going to post about work. Other people are going to post about work. Here's what I'm working on in my free time. We shouldn't have to do this in our free time, but unfortunately, if you want to stand out, if you want to get a job, this is kind of like something that will help. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but it's definitely something that will help. I get messages every week, every couple of weeks from different hiring managers, different recruitment people saying, hey, saw your profile, saw you posting about this. Do you want to have a look at this job role for us? Hey, saw you talking about this. Do you want to look at this job role for us? And they're asking me. Equally, when I'm looking for a job, and I often go through LinkedIn, but I find the recruiter, or I find a manager, I find anybody, somebody that works at that company, and I'll be like, hey, tell me about the job. Tell me about the company. Yeah, I'm really interested. Oh, can you tell me about your tech stack? Oh, I really like that about that piece of technology. And at that point, you're building these sort of like connections and familiarity that's only going to support you when it comes to there's you and 1,000 other people that have applied for this job. But hey, oh yeah, that's that guy. You're that person that messaged us and we spoke about this. Oh yeah, let's get him in and have a chat. He seemed like he knew what he was talking about. That's the thing. Because the biggest challenge right now is not necessarily, the job and finding the job. It's actually beating the competitors. It's like everyone else that you're fighting against to try and get there, they're the problem. And I don't mean that in the sense of they should stop applying for a job. Everyone should be applying for whatever they want. Do what you like. But the issue is that there are tools out there that are applying for 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 jobs in a day, which is then, that's causing the problem. How are you going to stand out from that? So the only things you can kind of rely on is the old-fashioned, word of mouth. The only way you're going to stand out is to be different. And if you are the person who is essentially cold calling them on LinkedIn, finding out about jobs, seeing if there's something available, I would hazard a bet that you are going to be more likely to secure a role that way than to bombard hundreds and hundreds of blind resumes. I feel a true connection and true authenticity is going to be really beneficial when it comes to trying to get a job in 2026, because there's this movement, and I don't know if you've seen it, we've got an issue where AI is becoming really good, automation is really good, people are then using it to just post AI, not even slop anymore. It's relevant information, but it's boring because you can tell it's just written by an AI. Tickets are being created by AI. LinkedIn, my LinkedIn is full of messages like this, where there's no way somebody sat and messaged that really. What they've done is you've written a summary. It's like, oh, I've built this. Can you give me a LinkedIn post? And it gives you this massive LinkedIn post. I tried it and I realized I don't like it. I'd much rather just have the short and sweet and, hey, this is what I did. Here's a screenshot. You want to chat about it? We'll chat about it. But that is where we're kind of like, then this next phase of it is all going. People are not necessarily getting bored of it. It's just kind of annoying. So people want to see a real person. They want to talk to a real person. They want to see a real engineer who really wants to engage with their work, and to be able to have a conversation or a debate about what product to use and how to use it. And I feel that's where this kind of like lean towards culture is equally becoming such an important thing for the job market. So it's difficult for all the, us introverts out there who don't like to talk to people, because they want people to talk now. They've always wanted it, but they never had to before. But now to make yourself stand out, which seems all we seem to be doing right now, is constantly trying to stand out. Be like, pick me! Look, I'm a guy. I'm someone. Pick me, please. That's all we're doing now. And it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting, and it's an unfortunate side effect of the current tech market, especially for all these roles that we're talking about, the platform, the DevOps engineer, and the cloud engineer. There's so many of us. and feels like there's very little jobs, but it will all work out in the end. I'm confident that we will get there. I'm willing to give any support that I can. You can feel free to leave a comment down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm open to any comments that suggest another topic for me to talk about. If you want me to focus in on one particular aspect of the current job market in 2026, if you want me to focus on some interview tips, either way, drop a comment down below, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.